Hello students. Now we will see the overview of IPC methods. First we will see the introduction. IPC is nothing but a inter-process communication. It will enable one application to control the another application and for several applications to share the same data without interfering with the one another. So sharing of data it will be done through the IPC. Here IPC is required in all multiprocessing systems because the output of one process it may be the input to the another process, but it is not supported by any single process operating systems. The various forms of IPC which are supported by the Unix systems are half duplex pipes, FIFOs, full duplex pipes, named full duplex pipes, message queue, shared memory, semaphores, sockets and strings. Okay. So the first seven are there. Na? These are form of the IPCs which are usually restricted to a IPC between the processes on the same height, the same host. Whatever these seven are there, na, these things will be used for the communication of the IPC which are going to work on the same host which are present on the same system. But the final two are there, na, that is our sockets and the strings. These are only two that are generally supported for the IPC between the processes on the different host. Means these two will be used to communicate between the two processes which are present in the two different machines. But the previous seven types, those will be used to communicate within a processes which are present in the same host. In that first we will see the pipes. Pipes are the oldest form of our Unix system IPC. Pipes have the two limitations here. The first one, they have been half duplex, means that data flowing only one direction. For example, there will be a sender 1 and the sender 2. Okay, so in the only one direction, only sender 1 is going to send the data to the sender 2, or the sender 2 is going to send the data to the sender. The data transmission will be done in only one direction. Then the second disadvantage is that pipes can be used only between a processes that have the common ancestor. Means the pipes can be used only in the processes which have the same ancestors, or you can say same parenting. Okay, which they belong to the same parent. Only those processes are able to use the pipes there. Normally pipes is created by a process. Okay, that process is going to call the fork function. We know that fork function it will be used to create the child, and then the pipe will be used between the parent and the child. So because of this thing they have told the pipe is going to work only for the processes which are going to have the same ancestor. Then the pipe is created by calling the pipe function. So here the syntax for a pipe function which has been defined in the unistandard.h header file. It is going to return the two values. Okay, the first one two values which has been present in the file ds. Here two argument it is taken. If 5 is created, okay, then it is going to return the value as 0. If it is not, then it is going to return the value as -1 then. Two file descriptors are written through the file ds argument. Okay, so here it is going to contain the two values. The file descriptor 0 it will be open for reading. Okay, 0 it will be used for the reading, whereas the 1 it will be used for writing. Okay, so here 0 it will be used for reading and the file descriptor 1 is used for the writing. The output of the file descriptor 1 is the input for the file descriptor 0. Okay, so whatever the thing you are going to write which has been present in the file descriptor 1, that will become, okay, that data you are going to pass for reading the file descriptor 0 there. Next, two ways to picture the half duplex pipes are shown here. Okay, so here we will see that here the file descriptor consists of the two arguments C, file descriptor 0 and the file descriptor 1. So whatever the thing you are going to write in the file descriptor 1, that will become as an input to the file descriptor 0. So here you are communicating within a process. Okay, even this can be picturized like this because internally it will be saved in the file. So user process file descriptor 1, whatever you are going to write, you are going to put it in the file. pipe. Okay, so this pipe will be given to as an input to the file descriptor 0 there, and this thing will be done by the kernel. Okay, a pipe in the single process is next to use, because if you are going to create a pipe for the single process, that is no use. So for that, if you are going to create a pipe for the two processes, that time internet you have to call the fork functions there. Okay, so here parent, on the parent you have called the pipe function. So fd0 and fd1 is there, file descriptor 0 and file descriptor 1 is there. It is going to call the fork function. So one child will be get created. Even for that, one fd0 and fd1 will be there. So single pipe will be get created. Here the output of the file descriptor 1 for the parent and child add both. So it will become the input to the file descriptor 0 for the parent and child both of them. Okay, then if what happen after a fork depends on which direction of data flow we want. Okay, whether we want in other direction. Okay, okay, for a pipe from the parent to the child, the parent closes the read endpoint of the pipe, that is ft0, and the child closes the write end. Okay, so here what we are doing, there it is communicating, here it is communicating in both the direction. Here child is also going to make use of this thing, and even parent is also going to use this thing. Okay, parent and child both are performing the read and write operation on the file. If I want that parent should write the data and that should be read by the child, or child should write the data and that should be read by the parent, in that case what you have to do? Okay, see here what we are doing, pipe from parent to the child. You are writing the data on the parent and that thing will be read by the child. In that case, the file descriptor 0, the read descriptor of the parent will be made close, or you can say made it as the null, means that will be not exist. So just you are giving the input to the pipe, and here you want to read it, so you does not require the write file descriptor. So you are going to close that write descriptor. You are just going to read the data. Okay, for a pipe from child to parent, the parent is going to closes the FD1 and the child closes the FD0. If you want the communication between the parent and child, now the child wants to write the data and parent want to read the data. In that case, the child file descriptor 1 will be written and the file descriptor 0 will be read in the parent. Okay, when one end of the pipe is closed, the following two rules has to be applied. Okay, whenever we are closing the one end of any of the parent or the child, we have to follow two rules. First one, if we read from the pipe whose right end has been closed, read is going to return 0 to indicate an end of the file after all the data has been read. Okay, if you are going to close the right here, see for example in the child you have closed the right, that time the file descriptor 0, it is going to return the value as 0 to indicate that all the data which has been present in the pipe I have read it. This is the first rule. The second rule is, if you write to a pipe whose read end has been closed, the signal signed pipe is will be generated. This will be done at the parent side. If we either ignore the signal or catch it and return from the signal handler, then write returns the 1 and it is going to return in the error number set to the if pipe. Okay, then we will see one program which which in this we are going to create a pipe between the parent and its child and send the data down to the pipe. Okay, here I have the end to file descriptor I require, process ID and the maximum line. Okay, if pipe ft I am going to create if it is less than 0. If it is not going to return anything. We know that if everything is okay, it is going to return the value as 0, else it is going to return the value as -1. So okay, if it is less than 1 means the pipe has been not created. Else if PID is equal to fork is less than 0 means the fork has been not created. Here you are checking the error. If PID is greater than 0 means parent is there. Close the file descriptor 0 because you are going to write the data into the pipe. So write the file descriptor and hello world you are going to write on that pipe. Okay, and here the length you have to specify. Okay, and at the child side what you have to do, child, you have to close the file descriptor. If child is there, then you have to get the data which will be present in the file descriptor 0. So that will be mentioned here, and just you are going to display that data to the your standard output file number. Okay. Next is popen and pclose functions. Since a common operation is to create a pipe to another process to either read its output or send it input, but the standard IO library has historically provided the popen and pclose functions. These two functions handle all the dirty work that we have been doing ourselves, like creating the pipe, poking the child, then closing the unused end of the pipe, executing the shell command, okay, and waiting for the command to terminate. These all things we are performing here externally. For example, here externally we have closed the file descriptor 0, externally we have closed the file descriptor 1, then externally we have written the data. These all things are there. So instead of that, what we can do is directly we can go for the popen and pclose function will be there. So hash include std.h file star popen, here constant character command string is there, then the constant character star type. These are the three parameters which we are going to send it for the popen. If it is okay, then file pointer is okay. Okay, it is going to return the file pointer if it is created correctly. Else it is going to return the null. Here you are going to pass the two parameters, command string and the type there. Next is pclose is there, which will be used for closing that particular pipe. Termination status of the command string will be sent here if and -1 will be written on the error. The function popen does a fork, and here we'll see the execution of the popen. Here internally your popen function, it is going to invoke the fork function as well as the exec function to be executed for that particular command string and return the standard IO file pointer. Okay. If the file type is R, here we are passing the here constant character type R is there. If it is R, the file pointer is connected to the standard output for the command string. Okay, for example, return of the F is equal to popen command string R is there. Command string means here you are creating one child, you are not creating, internally it will be get created, and as you are going to open in the reading and you are going to perform the read operation, so here that pointer will be returned to your parent. Okay. Next, if that file pointer type is W, then you are writing something on the standard input there. You are writing on the standard input. Okay. The next is coprocesses. A Unix system filter, it is a program that are going to read from the standard input and writes to the standard output. Okay. These are the some filters programs which are going to read from the standard input and write into the standard output there. So filters are normally connected linearly in the shell pipelines. A filter will become the co-process when the same program it is going to generate the filter's output and reads the filter output. Okay. So the filter, if it is going to generate a filter's input and reads the filter output, then that will become the co-process. So a co-process normally runs in the background here from the shell, and its standard input and standard output are connected to another program using the pipe. With an example, we will see how this will be done here. Okay. The process, it is going to create two pipes. One is the standard input of the co-process and other is the standard output of the co-processes. Okay. We see that deriving a co-process by writing its standard input and reading its standard output. See, FD1 it will be, here we are going to use in the writing mode, so standard input is there. FD0 is for the reading mode, so standard output will be there, and that will be sent to the parent and child process. So that will be co-processing. So that will be the your co-process of your parent there. Okay. See here, FIFO. FIFOs are sometimes called as the named pipes here. Okay. So pipes can be used only between the related process when a common ancestor has created the pipe there. So to create the named pipe, you are going to use the make FIFO method there. Here path name where you have to create and in which mode you want to create your FIFO, that will be there. On OK it is going to return the 0, else it is going to return the -1 on the F. Once we have used the make FIFO to create a FIFO, we open it using the open method there. When we open a FIFO, the non-blocking flag, that is our O underscore non-block affects what happens. In the normal case, that is O underscore non-block is not specified and open for read-only blocks until some other process open the FIFO for writing. Okay, if you are going to open the FIFO for the read-only, it will be get blocks until external some other process they are going to open the FIFO in the write mode. Okay. Similarly, an open for write only blocks until some other process opens the FIFO for the reading. If you are not going to specify it, automatically it will be done. If O that is non-block is specified, open for read only returns immediately, but an open for write only returns 1 with the error number set to ENXIO if no process has FIFO opening for the reading. Okay, if you have specified directly in your FIFO, that time it will be written immediately. Yes, and if you are opening the write only, that time it is going to return the 1 with the error number there. Okay, there are two uses of the FIFO. FIFOs are used by shell commands to pass data from one shell pipeline to the another without creating the intermediate temporary files. To send the data between two shells, you are going to make use of the FIFOs. FIFOs are used as rangewise point in client-server applications to pass data between the client and the servers. Some examples using the FIFO to duplicate the output stream here. FIFO can be used to duplicate an output stream in a series of shell commands. Just you are going to duplicate it. This prevents writing the data to an intermediate disk file. Consider the procedure which is going to need to process a filtered input stream twice there. Okay, so here with the FIFO and Unix program T1, we can accomplish this process without using the temporary file. We are just creating one input file that will be given as the program, and that will be duplicated in the program 2 and the program 3 by using the FIFO. We will see this one here. What we have done, we have created one FIFO there by using the make FIFO, MK FIFO. Okay, then I am executing one program with the name program 3. Okay, the input for this will be the FIFO 1 and I am executing this in the background. Then another one program is that program 1. Okay, and by using the that will be the in file, and by using the T command, what I am doing, that will be passed to the FIFO 1 and the program 2 both. Here you will see the description. We create the FIFO and let's start page program 3 in the background. Reading from the FIFO, we then start the program 1 and use the T command to send its input to the both FIFO 1, okay, that is our file, and the program 2. See here, input file, I have one program. By using the T, what I am doing, I am sending the output or the input of program 1 to the FIFO as well as the program 2. Okay, actually, and this FIFO it is passing the input to the program. So here what we are doing, the duplicate of your program 1, the data of this program will, I am going to pass it to the program 2 as well as the program 3 without using any intermediate file. Directly only the duplication will be created and that will be passed to the program 2 and the program 3. That one will be done by using the FIFO and the T command here. Example for client-server communication using the FIFO. FIFO can be used to send the data between the client and the server. If we have the server that is contacted by the numerous clients, each client can write its request to a well-known FIFO that the server creates. Since there are multiple writers for the FIFO, the request sent by the clients to the server need to be less than 5 buffer bytes in the size, which is going to prevent any interleaving of the client writes. The problem in using FIFO for this type of client server communication is how to send the replies back from the server to each client. A single FIFO cannot be used as the client would never know when to read their response versus responses of other clients. One solution is for One solution is for each client to send its process ID with the request. The server then it is going to create a unique FIFO for each client using the path name which is based on the client's process ID. For example, a server is going to create a one FIFO with the name /video/server.xxx where xxx is replaced with the client's process ID. This arrangement works although it is impossible for the server to tell whether the client crashes. This causes the client specific FIFOs to be left in the system file. The server also must catch signal pipe since it's possible for a client to send a request and terminate before reading the response, leaving the client specific FIFO with the one writer and the reader. Okay, see here, server client sending request to the server using the FIFO. Server is the read request, well-known FIFOs will be created and write request will be sent from client to the your FIFO and those will be sent to the server. Okay, here client server communication using the FIFOs here. Now, how the server is going to communicate with the client? Okay, server write replies will be there, then client specific. For each specific client, one FIFO will be there. So that data will be sent to that client specific FIFO and it is going to reply for that request. Okay, see here. Read replies, then write request. Even write request and the client specific FIFOs will be there. One well-known FIFO will be there which will be used to collect the queries from each client. Okay, and the client specific FIFO will be there which will be used to send the data from server to the client.